no religion unstudied, except for one, which I was certain was not worth reading, which of course I'm sure you've guessed is Islam.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. What do I want to read about Islam for? That's the religion where they cover women in blankets and put them in closets. That's what I used to say. So I did study, and I actually almost became a Buddhist. I was very enthralled with Buddhism. I read a book called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. It's actually a wonderful book. And I thought, oh, this is a beautiful religion. And the reason I loved it, what I loved about it, was the tazkiyat an-nafs. So the real work that seemed to be taking place on the self. I found a professor who had a Buddhist club at the university, and I attended one meeting with them. And I left the meeting with a realization that while the tazkiyat an-nafs was very real, it wasn't for God. It was for the nafs. And in my view, if I'm going to do something for my nafs, why am I going to, like, didn't make sense. Why am I going to purify myself for myself? If I'm not going to purify myself for God, I'll just give myself whatever it wants.
Right.
You know? So I didn't become a Buddhist in that moment, alhamdulillah. I don't even know the word. I was in this sort of state of frustration. That's the word, frustration. And there were different international people on campus. And remember I said that I was really interested in other worlds and other countries and other cultures. And so there was a young man who was from another country. He was from a Muslim country. Not that I knew that. But we were talking about some intellectual thing. Actually, we were arguing, and I wasn't even like thinking about it. I was thinking about my own religious struggle. So I paused the conversation. I asked him, "What religion are you anyway?" And he said, in a really funny American accent, "Oh, I'm Muslim." I'll never forget that funny American accent because it sounded to me like he was really trying to be, American about this. Cool. And I laughed at him. I said, "Oh, you're one of those people who put women in closets and cover them in blankets." He was really offended. And so the blessing of him being offended was that he now wanted to tell me how he wasn't that kind of person. And that was my first exposure